Nets Kingdom.
Fuck that house now. I'm back. To the top, I'ma make it. Niggas just can't take it. To the top, I'ma make 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 it. Niggas just can't take it.
Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy AJ. I'm here with Cypher and Rage. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, follow us on Instagram at NetsKingdom1. All our Twitters are scrolling at the bottom. And don't forget to check out our playlist. Hit on playlists on our channel and check out all our 2025 NBA draft prospects. We do all scouting reports will be in that playlist. So let's click on there and check those out. So we're here to talk about the Nets possibly trading up. It's probably one of the, we're the most probably talked about team about trading up. Let me read this article. Shout out to Sports Illustrated. It says here, the Brooklyn Nets, the Brooklyn Nets are Oklahoma City and hold on, I'm sorry. Okay, the Boston Celtics, Oklahoma City, and the Brooklyn Nets are among the most active teams exploring first-round trade-ups via Sports Illustrated. Boston holds picks number 28 and 32, has been discreet in its valuation of point guard prospects. Oklahoma City holds picks number 15 and 24, along with a deep stockpile of assets. Brooklyn is considered one of the most aggressive teams in the trade market, holding 4 first-round picks, number 8, 19, 26, and 27. So we're talked about possibly moving up in the draft along with those other teams. So I know the Nets have Jeremiah Fears on their board, so I want to start with Jeremiah Fears, probably the first prospect that we would target for trading up. Let me ask you guys this: like, if Jeremiah Fears falls to, I guess his range would be 5 to 8, right? 5 to 8 was Jeremiah Fears' range. Do you think then it's worth it to trade up for Jeremiah Fears, or do you think we should just wait and pick him at 8 if he falls?
I think personally that we should not hesitate and stick at the same pick that we're at if the decision is to ultimately trade up for Jeremiah Fears, because out of all of the guys that are up there with like everything that's been being talked about, especially with Ace possibly dropping, Jeremiah Fears could easily be in that mix. And ultimately, Jeremiah Fears is nice, but he's not necessarily the guy worth trading up for at as like a 6'4" guard. Ultimately, and still just with the shooting question marks, like the percentages and stuff like that. Like if you're gonna trade up for anybody, it's gonna be Ace, Dylan, or Cooper Flag. You're not trading up for anybody else, in my opinion.
Yeah, go ahead, Saif.
All right, so for Fears specifically, short answer is no. I mean, look, I know a lot of guys are really high on Fears. I am too, but he's not worth trading up for because there are still like red flags in his game. 3-point shooting was not good. Still had a turnover problem. His rim efficiency wasn't that great, even though he was good at getting into the paint. I do like Fears, but I don't know. I think there are other guys that we could get and not have to give up the assets to trade up for, because I don't know, let's just say we have to trade up 2 spots to get Fears. These teams are going to ask like a lot to move up those 2 spots. Whether it be extra picks, a future first rounder, a player, I don't know. The price to move up in this draft is going to be a lot. If it's not that much, like if I don't know, the Wizards are like, hey, give us pick 8 and 19, like maybe I consider it.
Yeah.
But if they're asking for like multiple first or like a player, then I think there are a lot of guys that are going to be available at 8 that have as good of upside as Fears, that I think we should take at 8.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like there will be some point guards in this draft that are, like I said, this is probably not the point guard draft, but there are some later picks where you can find a value point guard, the Traores that we're going to do a scouting report on, the Jaeger. You can find playmakers in this draft, I think a little bit in the probably lower 20s and 19s if you didn't go with a point guard at 8. So I don't know if you should reach for that. I know the Nets desperately want a point guard. That's why our Jeremiah is on the top of our board. And we do need a point guard. We do need a facilitator, a playmaker, a guy that could be a lead guard, and Jeremiah Fears has that potential to be
I
like a
don't
heliocentric
know.
guard.
I don't know if I agree with that. This not being a point guard draft. Because I don't know, there are a lot of guys. Okay,
Mm.
excluding Dylan Harper, who's out of our range.
Yeah, excluding
Yeah,
Dylan. Yeah.
there's Fears, there's Yakuchonis, there's Denham, and there's Dace Richardson, and then there's Traore.
That's fair.
Like those are like all those
Would you
guys
call it
have.
strong though? Would you call it like those
Yeah,
are gonna
I think
be
it's pretty
legit
strong.
lead guards in this league? That's
Yeah, I
what
think
I'm
some of those
asking.
guys have like pretty good ceilings. Like especially
Okay.
like Denham. Like I don't know, like Denham is 6'8.5" without shoes. Like he is taller than Cooper Flag. Like
Yeah.
shoes, like he is a 6'10" point guard. And if he could pick, I thought the shooting form looks good, and his passing, like he is the best passer in this draft class. Like him, I think is if he could figure out the shooting, like his ceiling is very high. Same thing goes with like Yakuchonis. Like he's a 6'6" ball handling point guard. Same thing with him. Hey, if he figures out the shooting, like all these players that I listed, like hey, they're really good passers with great vision.
Mhm.
They could just develop like a good, consistent jump shot. Like they're very good players.
So, but are there floors? That's what I'm saying. What are their ceilings? Yes, ceilings could be high, but are their floors are going to be
Oh, they're
out of
low.
the league? Are there floors out of the league, or are there
Some of them,
floors
yeah.
like capable rotation kind of guys?
Out of the league for quite a bit of them,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I
For
said
sure.
it's
Well, here's the
not
thing,
a
though.
point guard draft.
Like if you look
But
at
you're
like
right. There are point guards in this draft that we could find. I 100%
Yeah, and
agree with
the
you.
upside with those
100%
guys are
agree.
just there, bro. Like at least with those point guards, like you at least have like pretty like major like strengths in their game that are like very, very like that like are very like adhering essentially to like what this NBA is now, like with Traore's playmaking, with Jaegor's playmaking and size ultimately.
Oh, Ben
Jeremiah
Sheriff
Fears
too.
is scoring, and like Kasparis is playmaking, like all of that is just
That's
and
fair.
shooting as well. Like that, those are all pretty very important pieces in this game. So
Like the
That's fair.
floor, like I agree, like their floors are pretty low, especially Noah Traore.
Yeah.
But it's also like I don't know if you look at like each draft class, like there aren't like that many point guards because I just listed like 5 or 6 guys, and
Yeah.
the floor like point guards are inherently going to have a lower floor than most players because like their job is to handle the ball, and so
Yeah.
they don't have any extra utility. Like a 3-and-D wing, for example, like the range of outcomes for a 3-and-D wing is like huge. So
Yeah.
there's a scenario where those guys, let's just say if like Cooper Flag like is not like a really good on-ball creator, he ends up being a bust. Like worst case scenario for him, like he could scale down and be a 3-and-D wing.
Facts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
like some of these point, like for example, Dylan Harper, like he doesn't have like the same utility as someone like Cooper Flag, so he is going to have a harder time scaling down. So just inherently, like point guards do have like lower floors. So I'm not really looking at that, judging this point guard class or any point guard class in general.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, and again, obviously with Cooper Flag, like he's not going to be a bust. Like he is the most surefire thing ever.
So what are we, let's get to the next prospect here about possibly trading up is Ace Bailey, because Ace Bailey, the stock is falling. Jonathan Givney just put out his report that he might be at 6, and we've heard talks about the Pelicans possibly wanting him at 7, or trying to move up for him. So do you think if Ace falls to around our range, around maybe 1 pick ahead of us or 2 picks ahead of us, is he worth trading up for, or do you guys think we should just let him fall too, like Jeremiah Fears?
yeah, no, you're taking that and you're running with it. Like as long as you don't have to give up ultimately too much, and the team doesn't want Ace Bailey that bad, you're trading up for him. The upside is there, and we really wanted to get a top 3 pick this year, and Ace was on that list. We've kind of had an eye on him like all year. 6'10" wing. You can't teach, or 6'9" with essentially with shoes. You can't teach that. Get the scoring right. The defensive upside is there, averaging over a block per game. Covers a lot of ground. Ace Bailey is a guy you take the chance on and trade up for.
What about you, Cypher? Are you trading up for Ace? Well, I guess a pick ahead or 2 picks ahead for Ace.
I mean, again, it depends on like what we have to give up, but the answer is most likely going to be yes. Like Ace's ceiling, and his ceiling is so underrated by like the draft guys, but Like this guy could be a legitimate like top 10 player in the NBA if he could just figure out some of this stuff. Like if the passing vision gets better, the handle gets better, if the shot selection gets like cleaned up even a little bit, like this guy, like the sky's the limit. I would trade up for the guy, and like he's worth the risk. Unlike Jeremiah Fears, like Fears' ceiling is like Tyrese Maxey, and that's an amazing player, but Maxey's ceiling is like top 20, maybe top 15.
Yeah.
Whereas Ace's ceiling is like an MVP candidate if things work out.
Yeah, like Jeremiah reminds me like Darius Garland or a Tyrese Maxey type kind of thing. And then me personally, yes, I wouldn't trade up for Jeremiah Fears. I'm with you on that, and then I'm with you guys also. I possibly would trade up for Ace if we had the chance, like as long as we don't give up, anything too crazy. As these 27, 26.
Yeah, 26 is not going. We're not getting rid of that 26 for Ace.
Yeah, 2026, we can't give up that. But like these lower end picks, pick number 25 or whatever we have, 27, pick number 20.
Yeah, those are free smoke. All those picks are free smoke.
Those lower end picks, take those. You can might even be able to talk me into 19 or Cam Johnson if whoever is above us, or add a guy, or if we would take back a salary dump, I would take salary dump if that's the meet in the middle type of deal to get that 6 or 7 pick. I would take a salary dump for Ace anytime. All right, so the last guy I want to talk about trading up for, should the Nets trade up for, is Dylan Harper. Now, I know let's talk about it like this, because there is the KD caveat here, right? So Dylan Harper, straight up, it's impossible. The Nets are not going to ask the Spurs and say, "Oh, we'll give you," people on Nets Twitter, "We'll give you Cam Johnson, the 8th pick, and Nick Collect," all these weird trade machines. And here's Dylan Harper. Is like, no. The Spurs are not going to do that. I've been in too many Spurs, spaces and communities. They want to keep Dylan. So I'll say the only way that you can possibly pry Dylan from the Spurs is this KD caveat. Now, we've seen in the Athletic report that KD he applied pressure and he leaked it. He said, "I want to be a Spur." He put his hand on the table and banged it on the table. "I want to be a Spur." He did give 3 teams with the Rockets and the Heat. I think it was Rockets, Heat. Rockets, Heat, Spurs.
Yep.
But yeah, but he banged his hand on the table and he wanted to go to the Spurs. So now, from the Spurs point of view, it's like, okay, I might have to salary dump because, I got Devin Vassell here, Harrison Barnes, and Keldon Johnson. I don't know if the Suns are going to want to. I don't know if the Suns can or will be able to take those contracts back, because they still have Booker and Bradley Beal on their books. So they might need a third team. So it's like, for us, out of that 3-team deal, we're going to need some type of compensation for these salary dumps if we're facilitating this deal. Now, could you say to yourself, okay, KD, if we take Dylan Harper away from the Spurs, let's say that, right? And let's say we compensate them with either picks, their salary dump, or whatever. At the end of the day, they still have KD, De'Aaron Fox, Wemby, Stephon Castle, right? I know they want to have the Spurs fans are going to watch it and be like, "No, we want Dylan Harper too," but it's greedy. Like greedy. You're just being greedy at that point. You're being greedy. You're being egregiously greedy if you just want 3 point guards. You already have 2. You only have 2 really great point guards.
How does that even work? How does that even make your team better, bro? That's like just that's just it's just too much going on.
Yeah, Spurs fans, you're watching this, you're being egregious. You guys just want all your chip. You want your cake, you want to eat it too. That's what you guys want to do. I understand it. Don't get me wrong. If I had Dylan, I'd probably be the same way. But if you're getting that level of player of KD that could elevate you to a possible top 5 seed in the West with this team fully loaded, right? You're going to have to think about the compensation from the other teams. Like the Suns, let's say, like I said, the deal is going to get hashed out. I wish I could be a fly on the wall. I was talking to Sane about this. I wish I could be in the fly on the wall and listen to these GMs conversations between these 3-team deals of facilitation. Okay, what are the Suns going to take away from compensation? What are the Spurs going to take away from compensation? Like, I want to figure out what's going to go on, but I'm going to ask you guys, like, what is it worth doing that and trying to get Dylan in that facilitation of the KD trade?
Well, okay, what are we taking back?
I'll probably say, I'll put the scenario. We're taking back, let's say they give us Dylan, Devin, Harrison Barnes, and maybe we have to give the Suns Claxton, because the Suns want a center. We have to give the Suns Claxton and maybe compensation with the Suns too. I would say maybe draft capital, and you can probably give him Cam Johnson too. I'm just saying, like, what if we did that?
Okay. Well, is it the 8th pick?
I'd say we have to give up the 8th.
Okay. Answer yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 100% yes. I don't think it's realistic.
Mhm.
I don't think there's any circumstance where the Spurs give up the 2nd pick. Because look, Dylan Harper, we talked about this before.
Mhm.
MVP level ceiling.
Yeah.
Could be like a James Harden, like a bigger Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham. Like, he is a fantastic player.
Mhm.
No, I don't think the Spurs aren't even willing to give him up, from what I hear, for Durant.
Yeah.
And by the way, it would be more. The Suns would want that pick, like, way more, because that would be like the centerpiece for a Durant trade. So
They would want the Dylan. They would want the Dylan out of the mix,
yeah,
right?
they would want
Yeah.
Dylan Harper.
But
So,
they know KD's value is not that high. They know his value is not that crazy.
well,
So
if the Spurs are willing to give up 2 for KD, like, they would be the one to get that 2nd pick. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't think this is like realistic. If it
Mhm.
is, like, I would do it in a heartbeat, because, like, I don't really value Claxton. I don't value Cam Johnson. I like the 8th pick. I don't really value that.
Mhm.
Pick number 2 is the most valuable asset in this deal,
Mhm.
even more valuable than Durant. Like, yeah, I would take that no-brainer. I don't care about Barnes or Vassell's contract.
Yeah. We probably have to take a bunch of salary down, but I'm just spitballing here. Like I'm saying, like it it's a. Do you think Sean is in the lab right now talking to both teams? Because let me ask you, Saif, do you think the Spurs, because they know, like, KD wants to be a Spur, he put his hand on the table, he's like, I want to be a Spur. Do you think the Spurs just ignore that and be like, no, we're just gonna go with Dylan and our young team, get out of here, or they're gonna work with, see what's gonna happen and see, like, okay, we might have to call the Nets on this, so we don't have to give too much up. Like, I just feel like it's
Well,
a possibility. It sounds crazy, but I feel like it's still, like, in the realms of a possibility.
okay, based off what I'm hearing, look, the Suns are basically impossible to negotiate right now. Like, they're so desperate that allegedly they're turning down, like, Rudy Gobert in these trades. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but I don't know. And look, with Durant, it's like he might be more trouble than he's worth at this point of his career. Like, he's 36. He's going to be 37, I believe. He still has injury problems. He's going to need a contract extension. And because of how many years he's been in the NBA, well, that's minimum $56 million a year. And he's kind of a locker room problem. I mean, the last 2 destinations have been so bad. Even if individually it isn't his fault, those teams fell apart, the Nets, the Suns. Like, he was a part of that, and he allowed it to happen. So if he goes to the Spurs and things go wrong for whatever reason, because remember something, Popovich isn't coaching the team anymore. It's Mitch Johnson, and Mitch Johnson did not do a good job coaching last year.
Yeah.
So if things do not working out from a coaching perspective and he gets fired, that's Durant's. Let's see here: Kenny Atkinson, Steve Nash, Jacques Vaughn.
Yeah, 5. What is this? Who do you
Monty
have on the
Williams,
Suns?
Frank
Yeah, he had a lot
Vogel.
of different coaches, man. Frank Vogel, yeah.
Okay, if he gets traded to the Spurs and Mitch
Monty
Johnson
as
gets
well.
fired, he would be on his 8th coach in the last 7 years, which is insane. Now that I say that out loud,
Over a coach's season.
Yeah. So
you know how hard that is to do, to average more than a coach a season.
More than a coach's season is absolutely ridiculous. Like,
nah, that's OD, bro. That's crazy.
that's the type of NBA we're in now. If you're an NBA player and you stay, like, you're a star, you stay loyal to a team for a little bit. Once you move to a team, oh my gosh, you're just hopping around at that point, dude. Everything's just everything's almost kind of like a cancer, to be honest.
Dude, over a coach's season in a span of 7 years, like, that is so hard to do. Like, I think Cam Thomas averaged more than a coach over a season, but that's because, like, the Nets were over a course of 4 years, because the Nets were, like, just cycling out coaches. Like, in a span of, like, 6-7 years to go over a coach's season, like, that is generational. Like, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. Let us know in the comments how you guys feel about the Nets trading up. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. All our Twitters are scrolling at the bottom. Instagram is Nets Kingdom 1. Yeah, let us know in the comments. Do you guys think Jeremiah Fears, Dylan Harper? Do you think it's in range? Ace Bailey? Do you think the Nets should make a move? Should Sean be aggressive? Should he risk it all to get these guys, or should he just be like, nah, I'm good, I'm chilling? So let us know in the comments. We'll be back.